Hey guys, welcome back. Today is Wednesday, day 23 of NTI. We are finishing up our review for Module 1. Go you all. I hope it's gone well. We are working on add and subtract fractions today. Excuse me, decimals. And so I have a little note here at the top that says, when adding and subtracting decimals, we need to first rewrite the problem vertically up and down, and we need to line up the decimal points and by their place value. Okay, and so we're just going to line up these. We're going to do exactly that. So we're going to add 13 and 4/10. Sorry about that. Plus, I'm going to get my eraser. That is really bad. It's sliding super easy. Maybe it's my finger. We're going to add 6 and 753, 6 and 753 thousandths. Okay, now what you notice is I have lined up my decimal point and I also have my place values in order. Okay, and that's very, very important. That's pretty much the only thing that you need to remember when you're adding and subtracting decimals. You need to line up the place value and decimal point if there's a decimal in it. Okay, because sometimes there might not be a decimal point. There might be a whole number, like if you look at the subtraction problem right here, and we're going to talk about that here in a second, okay? So I want you to pause the video and go ahead and add and see what you get. All right, awesome. Now that you've paused your video, I'm going to go ahead. So 3 plus, we have nothing. You can even, some of my students in our math class, they like to put zeros here. You are more than welcome to do that, but we are adding. So 3 plus no value would be 3, 5 plus no value would be 5. 7 plus 4 is 11. And then our decimal point does keep its place value. And then 3 and 1 make 4, and 6 and 4 make 10. Well, I'm talking like a kindergartner, like how they talk. And 1 plus 1 is 2. So our answer to the first one is 20 and 153 thousandths. Okay, and so what I want you to do now is I want you to look at the second problem that I have over here. It says 45 hundredths plus whole number 22. So you notice that the 22 does not have a decimal point. I want you to try and line up that problem in your math notebook. Pause the video. All right, so now that you've gotten a chance to do that, I'm gonna go. It doesn't really matter which number goes on top in this case because we're adding. It does matter when you're doing subtraction. Sorry about that. It's a really funky 5. And then we're gonna add the number 22. So what it should have looked like if you, now the 2 here is in the ones place, and this is actually the ones place. And this is the tens. So there should not be any numbers over here. This is an addition problem. This is what this looks like. Whole number 22, the decimal is actually right there. Okay, if I had $22, that would be 22 decimal 0 0. So if you put your 22 under the 45, that is incorrect. It is incorrect because this 2 is in the ones place and this 5 is in the hundredths place. Remember, we have to line them up by place values. You cannot just put these numbers wherever you want. They have to be lined up by place value. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video, get yours corrected, or go ahead and add. All right, so like I said, some people in my class like to fill in those empty place values with zeros, which is fine, and you're definitely going to have to do that with subtraction, so you might as well. 5 plus 0 is 5. 4 plus 0 is 4. The decimal keeps its place value. 2 plus 0 is 2. And you have 22 and 45 hundredths. Now, say you had put the 22 under the 45 right here. You would have ended up, if you had kept your decimal place value, you would have ended up with 67 hundredths. Let's think about that for a second. 45 hundredths plus whole number 22 equals 67 hundredths? How? That's only 67 cents. How? If I have 22 wholes and I'm adding something to it, my answer should be greater than 22, which gives us to what we actually do have. Okay? All right. So pause the video and I want you to go ahead and start on your subtraction problem. Now, I did put the first one up as a challenge. So remember what we've talked about. Whenever we are adding and subtracting decimals, I want you to line up the decimal point and line up the digits by their place value. Okay? So you have 870 minus 64 and 2/10. Okay, go ahead. Pause and solve. All right, here we go. So hopefully you've got something written down. We have 870 and, subtracting 64. So that's going to go right here. 64 and 2/10. Now, in this case, this is why the students in my class, in my homeroom, really like to put the 0 whenever it was missing, because you're going to have to. This is a must. So we have a decimal here, and we have to place a 0 there. Now, the reason that you have to place a 0 is because if you have nothing, we're not taking away. If I have nothing and I'm trying to take away 2, I would end up with -2, and you're not in that math world yet. So we're going to be borrowing here. We're going to have to borrow and give 10. 0 minus 2 is not 2. It is -2. And again, you're not in that math world yet. It is possible, but in this case, we need to subtract. We need to have 870 and take away this amount. So we're going to borrow next door from the 0. Well, there's nothing there. It has no value. So we're going to have to borrow even further over. So we're going to borrow 1. That's what I tell my class. Give 10. So borrow 1, give 10. So we're taking away one of these 10s. So I had 7 10s, it became 6 10s. We've turned that 1 10 into ones, so 10 ones. 10 ones plus 0 ones is 10 ones. So that's how it became 10. I still have 0 minus 2. I still have to borrow 1 and give a 10 tenths. So 10 plus 0 would be 10. And a lot of people in my class mark it out and put a 10 above it. And you can. I just always put a 1 there because that plus 10 is going to have a 1. So 10 minus 2 is 8. Decimal keeps its place value. 9 minus 4 is 5. 6 minus 6 is 0. And we have 8 minus no value. So 805 and 8/10 should have been your answer. All right, go ahead and pause the video. You have one more subtraction problem to complete, and then we're done for today. I know, awesome. So 12 and 4/10 minus 5 and 69/100. Remember, you have one thing to remember when you're adding and subtracting decimals. Line up the place values. Line up the decimal points. Pause, line it up, and solve. Go. There's probably an easier way to do this. All right, so now that you have taken time to pause the video and try to solve on your own, I'm going to go ahead and solve with you. So we have 12 and 4/10. Whoa, Nellie, that was crazy. Sorry about that. 12 and 4/10. And we're going, that's better, subtract 5. And I guess it's easier when you do have a decimal point there because 5 and 69/100. Okay. All right, here we go. So, and remember, this is why people in my class, if I have nothing and I'm taking away 9, that's -9. I'm not in that world yet. So we have got to put a 0 here for that place value. And 0 minus 9 is not 9. It is -9. We need to borrow. We need that number on top to be greater than the one on the bottom. So we're going to borrow 1. By the way, that's a really sloppy 4. Borrow 1, give 10. 10 minus 9. Let me fix that a little bit. Sorry about that. Okay. 10 minus 9 is 1. 3 minus 6 is -3. You're not in that math world. You need that number to be greater than this number so we can subtract. We're going to borrow 1, give 10. 13 minus 6 is 7. Decimal keeps its place value. 1 minus 5, it's -4, but you're not in that math world yet. You need that number to be greater than this one. Borrow 1, give 10. And 10 plus 1 is 11. 11 minus 5 is 6. So your answer should have been 6 and 71/100. All right. So that's really it for today, guys. Adding and subtracting decimals. Remember, when you are adding and subtracting decimals, you need to rewrite the problem vertically. That means up and down. And you need to line up the decimal points and place values. All right, guys. Have a super great Wednesday. I love you bunches. Miss you. If you have any questions, holler at your teacher. See you guys.